Okay, so it's been bothering me this whole time, this whole like non-centered content and the width is 100% and flowing, and we're going to fix that in this video. Okay, remember we wanted to kind of have the content centered on the page here. Not everything centered, like it's still left aligned, right? The text is left aligned, but there should be equal sides on both sides of the page. It should kind of not spread so wide, right? We want the text to only get so to a certain width. Now, there's a lot going on here. I'm going to try to go to here, and I think on W3 Schools, if I look at the box model, that's where I'm going to start. So every element can be thought of as a box, right? It has content, padding, border, and margin. So margin is outside the border. It's kind of apart from how other elements can be spaced apart from each other. Padding is the space between the border and the content. And yeah, you can play around with stuff like this. So for example, this is a div element. We haven't talked about those yet, but divs are basically just like containers. And it's got a background color. It's got a green border. The padding makes it space out between the border and the content, right? So that's that space around the text. And then the margin is the space that it goes from the left and the right and the top and the bottom and stuff like that. Now, you can do all sorts of things with padding and margin. If you give it, so let's go to margin, for example. You can do margin top, right, bottom, left individually. Excuse me. There's a shorthand property. If you just go margin and you give it 4 numbers, it'll start at the top and go clockwise, so top, right, bottom, left. If you give it 3 numbers, it'll go top, right, and left, and bottom. If you give it 2 values, this will be for top and bottom, and this will be for right and left. And if you give it 1 number, it'll do all 4 margins top. So you can do individual sides, or you can do this shorthand margin and give it a certain number of numbers to represent different sides. Okay, and that's the same with padding as well, right? You can do all the individual sides, padding top, right, bottom, left, or you can use the shorthand property, 4 numbers, 3 numbers, 2 numbers, 1 number. Okay, play around with that and see how it works. And we're going to play around with it too. So the main idea here, if I go here, is I'm actually going to select the entire body. And I'm going to give it, oh, I didn't talk about width. And I'm going to give it a width. All right, so let's go back here for a second. Height and width. So we can use height and width properties. And that allows us to control the height and width of the element. Okay, and you can use pixels, percentages, auto. We'll talk about auto in a second. That's what we're going to use to help center our stuff. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to go back to the top of my CSS. I often like to do kind of the bigger outer elements. So I'm selecting my body and then the inner elements. So the body first. And let's start by doing a border. I actually didn't show you border either. Borders, you can do border style property. You can, oh, look at all those different styles. That's not what I wanted. You can do border width, border color, and then there's also a shorthand. I'm going to just go straight to that. You can give it 3 values, the width, the style, and the color. And you need the style for sure, and otherwise the default is, I think, 1 pixel, and the default color is black. So I'm going to copy this and paste that. Border 5 pixel solid red, sure. And when we go here, you should see this is my body. All right. Now, you may notice that, hey, how come there's the space? Well, the body, if I select this, by default, the body has a margin of 8 pixels. Okay, that's just the default styling that the web page gives. Okay, if we wanted to get rid of that, we could go margin 0. And then you would see that, hey, now there's no margin and the border goes right up to the edge of the page. Anyway, we're going to see in a bit here. The reason I wanted this border is that you can kind of see what's going on here. Let's start with some padding. No, let's start with the width. So I'm going to go width of maybe 600 pixels. And we'll save that and go back to here. And now you'll see that the body, right, has this width of 600 pixels. I think that looks pretty good. And let's get the image Do I want to do this? Yes, I want the image to also have a width of 600 pixels, so it fills the body. Right? Fills the body. That's cool. Now, I don't want the body to, well, how do I want to say this? I don't want it to go right up to the border. Actually, let's center this first, right? Because our body is all the way on the left side of the page. The way that we can center it is we can use margin. So I'm going to go to my body here, and instead of margin 0, I'm going to go margin left 200 pixels. And you'll see that that pushes it 200 pixels from the left. Now, this is a good start, right? If I go like this, hey, that looks better, right? It's centered on my page. But if my page is wider, that doesn't look very good. Okay, so a better way to do this is to actually just go margin and then use the auto. And what it does is it says, hey, your body is only 600 pixels wide. There's extra space on the page. And then the auto means I'm going to automatically use that extra space and balance it on the left and the right. So if we save that, it's now calculating how much extra space is available. So if I make this smaller, right, it adjusts and it keeps the left and the right margins equal to each other. That's pretty cool. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the root element, the HTML. Right, we've got the body, and I'm going to style the HTML to have a background color of, oh yeah, cool, I remember this color. Okay, that's the same color that I have as my link, right? So we'll save that. And if I go here, okay, so that made the HTML is the root element, so it made everything have that background color. The body, there's the body still here, but it's kind of transparent. We haven't told it to have a background color, so it's just like it's transparent. So let's go, oh yeah, this is what we have to do. To the body, we're going to give it a background color of just white. There we go. And now I can get rid of this border. We don't need the border because the background color of the HTML is kind of the border already. So I don't have to select the whole line. Just on this line, I hit Control X and it gets rid of the whole thing. Control Save. Okay, that's weird. Why did it do that? Oh yeah. Okay, what we need to add is some padding. And I'm not going to go into why there's room on the top. It's something about collapsible margins. But once we add padding, it's going to fix that. Because we don't want these words right up to the edge, right? So let's start by just, to our body, adding some padding. And I'm just going to go 20 pixels. And remember, when I do one number with this shorthand notation, it's going to go top, bottom, left, and right. So that's going to give me 20 pixels padding, top, bottom, left, right. Now, top and bottom, I'm okay with that much space. That looks pretty good. But I'd like some more space on the left and right. So if I remember correctly, padding, if I give it two numbers, the first number is for top and bottom, the second number is for right and left. Right? Just separate them with a space. So 20 pixels top and bottom is good, maybe 100 pixels left and right. And we go back to here, and that looks a lot better. Right? So all of the content, right, is, if we look at our body element, right, this green is the padding, and then the blue is the actual content of the body. That's pretty cool. Okay. You know what? I think I'm done. Let's be done with this webpage. Pretty basic website. Let's close this, but it's nicely centered on the page. It's got our heading. We've got that nice image. We've got our description here with a link that opens to a new tab. We've got our other headings and list of things to do. That's a pretty good start. I like this. Okay. What I'd like you guys to do, though, to make sure you understand what we've learned in this code along, is take this code and change it. Okay, this will be your assignment. I want you to make a different recipe, right? Change the title, get a new image, give it a different description, new ingredients, different instructions, change the background color, maybe play around with the link or do different links on your page, change around the font families, all that stuff. Okay, so play around with this. The best way to learn how to code is by doing it yourself, right? Hopefully you've learned stuff and you've been able to understand things. Our HTML, right? Linking to our style sheet, having all the content in here and all the styles in here. Play around with this. Show me once you're done, and I want to see your recipes. Show me your secret recipes. That would be awesome. Okay, hope you had fun. Hope that made sense. Take care, and we'll see you in the next project.